Xiaomi just announced the brand new Xiaomi 14T Pro, and I have already been using this phone for nearly a month at this point. Thanks to Xiaomi Malaysia for sending this phone early, so we got to test out this phone extensively. At the starting price of 2,599 ringgit, I think this phone can compete against those flagship phones. I'm not saying that just because Xiaomi sent us this phone early, but because I have done a lot of tests to the point that I can say that for certain. But before we talk about the reasons why I think this phone is amazing, do hit that subscribe button so you can help us out do all of these extensive tests even more in the future. I'm going to talk about the one thing that surprised me and made me say that this phone can compete with the flagships first, and that is the chipset. The Xiaomi T series of phones are using MediaTek chipsets exclusively, and this 14T Pro is using the new MediaTek Dimensity 9300 Plus. When compared with the Dimensity 9300, this Plus variant just had a different clock speed for that single Cortex-X1 core. Every other CPU core and GPU are identical. Basically, this means that the Dimensity 9300 Plus is a slight overclock over the 9300, and that's about it. When we do our usual gaming test though, ignore the temperature here since that is displaying the CPU and GPU core temperatures and not the SoC package temperature, the performance is surprisingly really good. We're getting around 52 FPS on Genshin Impact version 5.0 at the highest graphical preset, 59 FPS for Zenless Zone Zero at the highest graphical preset, 120 FPS for PUBG Mobile at ultra extreme frame rate, 120 FPS for COD Mobile with super resolution turned on at medium graphical preset, about 45 FPS for Wuthering Waves at the highest graphical settings. If you want to watch the entire gaming test video, then the link is at the top right corner there or in the description. Do watch that video after you have finished with this review because I was genuinely surprised by how good it is in our gaming test. And yet, this phone doesn't overheat. Xiaomi did upgrade the 14T Pro to a new 3D ice loop cooling system. It essentially still is a vapor chamber, but there is some curves all over, and Xiaomi claims that it helps in heat dissipation. In our tests, the phone doesn't even get hot to the touch while playing games. We use our thermal camera to measure the surface temperature and it barely hits 40 degrees Celsius. The sustained performance is just impressive if you're going to play a game using this phone. This is just one of the reasons why I say that it can compete with the flagships today, because I believe that this chipset, the MediaTek Dimensity 9300 Plus, can compete against the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and in a few ways it is actually better than a chipset. But if we look closer, this chipset doesn't have any efficiency Cortex-A520 cores. Is that gonna heavily affect the efficiency? Well, actually no. The Cortex-A720 cores in the Dimensity 9300 Plus is actually downclocked, and I think MediaTek found the sweet spot for its performance per watt. In our standardized battery life test, this Xiaomi 14T Pro can last for around 14 hours and 30 minutes with its 5000 mAh battery. But again, we are testing it at 144Hz, so that will consume a bit more battery compared to the usual 120Hz on many other phones found in the market today. Once again, impressive battery life from this phone, and this chipset just surprised me once again. The charging speed is where things change. I think that's the best way to describe it. You see, the box of the Xiaomi 14T Pro is ever so slightly thinner than the usual Xiaomi phone boxes. I think you're starting to realize what's happening here. Yes, there is no charger in the box, and because Xiaomi is using a proprietary charging standard, you can only fast charge the phone with Xiaomi's own charger and cable. Since we only have the Ugreen 140 watts USB PD PPS charger with us, we'll use that to do the charging test instead. By using the default settings, the phone can charge from 15% to completion in about 49 minutes. It's actually very good considering that the phone only takes in an average of around 24 watts. Then we can head into the settings menu, change it to the top speed wired charging mode, and that actually makes the phone charge slightly slower, taking in at about 45 minutes to charge from 15% to completion. and it also heats up a bit more. It's still at a safe temperature, and that is why we don't actually see a sudden dip in charging speed. The wattage intake is around 26 to 28 watts in the top speed charging mode, but the curve isn't as linear as the standard charging speed mode. Either way, I personally believe that Xiaomi needs to support USB PD of up to around at least 65 watts if they want to remove charges from the phone. As it stands now, the Xiaomi 14T Pro is advertised to have 120 watts fast charging, but only if you use their own charger and cable. We can only get around 25% of the advertised speed if we are using the USB PD PPS charger, but the charging speed is still very fast, around 45 minutes to complete the charging cycle. By the way, this isn't the first time Xiaomi is removing the charger from their phone box. We said the exact same thing a few years ago when Xiaomi tried to remove the charger from the, I think it was Xiaomi 11 or Xiaomi 10. Yeah. Now, enough about all that. Let's now talk about the screen. This phone comes with a 6.67-inch OLED screen with a slightly higher than usual resolution of 2712 by 1220 pixels and also goes up to 144Hz refresh rate. We tested the color accuracy in two modes, starting with the standard first. It can reach a maximum auto brightness of around 960 nits, which is pretty good even for outdoor usage, and it covers 98.25% of sRGB and 72.28% of DCI P3 color gamuts. The delta E number is extremely low, by the way, less than 0.5. Then I switch over to the saturated color profile, and it can reach virtually 100% for both sRGB and DCI P3 color gamuts, but the delta E number rose to around 3. But I think that's an outlier since the average is still very low. Either way, this is a good screen, but the under-display fingerprint scanner is just way too low to be used. As for the cameras, the Xiaomi 14T Pro comes with triple cameras and they all have Leica Vario Sumilux lenses, ranging from 50mm to 60mm of equivalent focal lengths. Let's talk about the main camera first. The main camera does look good across all different scenarios. The colors and clarity are great. Night mode also looks sharp and crisp with great light exposure, and that's all good. This is to be expected since most phones nowadays have very good main camera. The ultra-wide angle camera is a bit fuzzy looking since it is a fixed focus ultra-wide angle lens. It still takes pics with good colors even in night mode. Also, because of where the ultra-wide angle camera is located, you cannot take pictures like this, else your finger will appear in the shot, so you have to do it like this. The telephoto camera is a bit weird since they chose a 60mm equivalent focal length, which means it is actually 2.6 times the zoom of the main camera. It has great sharpness and colors and it does look great overall, but since it doesn't have any sort of stabilization, the pictures tend to look a little bit more blurry. There is also some color consistency issue between the main and telephoto camera, but the ultra-wide angle camera sometimes just changes everything. Yeah, I mean, just take a look at these shots. All the pictures shown above are taken with Leica Vivid Color Profile. We can toggle to Leica Authentic Color Profile, which does look better in some cases, but some of the shots just look completely lifeless. I still prefer the Leica Vivid for most of the time. And for videography, this phone can take up to 4K 60fps videos, but we cannot change lenses while filming. Because it is using a combination of OIS plus EIS, there is going to be a lot of jittering while walking. Otherwise, if I'm not walking and just panning the phone around, yeah, the stabilization works great. One thing I realized is that at 2.6 times zoom, it is still quite wobbly, but when I go to 2.7 times zoom, the EIS kicks in aggressively, and I just wish that they use this 2.7 times zoom EIS on the 2.6 times telephoto camera instead. You know, having a native crop on the sensor with that stabilization is a lot better. We also need to talk about the software. The Xiaomi 14T Pro is using HyperOS version 1.0.3.0 and it works the same as the Xiaomi 14 Ultra that we have reviewed earlier this year. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of ads pushed through the notification. It's easy to dismiss them, but when it gets mixed with my personal notifications, I think this is just annoying. Still, I appreciate that we don't have something like hot games or hot apps in the home screen. Let's now take a look at the design of this phone. It's a simple one, honestly. I like the matte finish on the back, and the camera bump is indeed quite huge. I'm not really a fan here, but a case should mitigate the camera bump thickness and make it look slimmer. And a few more things to mention about this phone here. It does have a USB 2.0 port at the bottom, which takes forever to copy stuff in and out, and there is no display output via that USB-C port. It does have dual SIM card slots, but no micro SD card support. It also still does have the IR blaster at the top, and that's about it. One thing that Xiaomi definitely upgraded though is that this phone now has IP68 rating. Okay, so should you buy the Xiaomi 14T Pro? The Malaysian price is starting at 2,599 ringgit, and if we compare the price with the predecessor though, the price difference is rather weird. I have no idea why the 512GB version is so much more expensive than before, but the 1TB variant remains at the same price. Still, the answer is yes, I can recommend the Xiaomi 14T Pro. This is a surprisingly good phone as it packs a lot of performance, doesn't actually heat up, great battery life, rather decent cameras, and most important of all, an affordable price, and you do get a lot of value for your money here. Some people might complain that there is no charger, but honestly I don't care since I use my own charger for like the past 10 years already, and I just don't like the proprietary fast charging in Xiaomi phones or any other phones that are using proprietary fast chargers. I don't want to use their chargers and their cables only, and that is why I really like USB PD PPS. I can charge my laptops as well and many other things, not just their phones. Either way, Xiaomi is giving out the 120 watts hypercharge charger for this phone for free when you order it, I think during the promotional period. Not sure when that ends, but all of the details are shown on the screen. And that's all that we have to share with you here today. Do like and subscribe and let me know, do you like the Xiaomi 14T Pro? Are you getting one? I'd like to know all your thoughts and opinions, and we'll see you guys in the next video.